Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Comic Book Nostalgia. I'm CP Nostalgia, and let's talk about that first episode of She-Hulk. Well, Disney Plus dropped the latest in their Marvel Studios productions today, and that is She-Hulk. Tatiana Maslany dives into the role of Jennifer Walters, Bruce Banner's cousin and the sensational She-Hulk. I thought we could take a couple minutes to dive into the first episode, give it a little review, and talk about what's going on with this series. Now, there might be a couple of minor spoilers in this review. I'm not avoiding them, but I am going to try not to ruin the show for you, so we're going to try to ride that line a little bit. Now, this is the first of 9 episodes, and I have to say, they absolutely wasted zero time getting this whole story rolling. This episode is basically the origin story for the character, and although it's not exactly the same as the comics, it totally was inspired by the comics and worked really, really well. They didn't waste any time giving us the She-Hulk action, and I think that aspect of the show really worked compared to some other Marvel Studios shows. Now, the episode itself really focused a lot on Jen, her gifts being unique, and Bruce feeling this incredible sense of responsibility for her and helping her. Now, most of the episode focused on training, and I actually thought that worked pretty good. But throughout those scenes, we got a lot of indications of what's going on with Jen and Bruce, and all kinds of interesting stuff was seeded for the future. I have to say, the fight between the two Hulks was foretelling in many ways, and we're actually going to dive into another video to break all that down, but I have to say, I think Marvel Studios might have some pretty big plans for the Hulk. Now, I really did like how Jen does not want to be a superhero and wants to focus on that legal aspect of her career. Just because you become a superhero doesn't mean you stop being the person you were before, and Jen was a lawyer, and it's pretty clear she has no intentions of letting that go. Tatiana Maslany and Mark Ruffalo really had great chemistry in the show, and quite honestly, it did feel like they were actually cousins. Now, she really did seem to understand and get Bruce, and she came right at him a couple of times on how his Avengers lifestyle has impacted those around him, including his family, something we've really never heard a lot about. Now, one of the other things that was pretty great about the show is we got a lot of insight into Bruce's other relationships with the Avengers, particularly Steve in that post-credit scene, which I'll leave for you to find out. But more importantly, Tony Stark. We've always had that ongoing Science Bros thing happening with these two characters, and it's pretty clear, based on all of this, that they really were much tighter than anybody knew. Now, like I was saying, this was just an origin show, so it's really unclear so far where the series is going. Quite honestly, 95% of those trailers were actually in this first episode, so I think they're purposely holding back a lot of details, and with 8 more episodes coming at us, there's a lot of stuff that could happen. The pacing on the show was pretty good, I was never really bored, and honestly, the comedic aspects of the interaction between the two Hulks totally worked. Also, the genuine mentorship that Bruce Banner shows Jen, I really did enjoy, and gave the character some context and history that often is glazed over in some of these productions. I actually think this is probably one of the best uses of time in any Marvel Studios show. By the end of the training time with the Hulk, it becomes pretty clear that she understands her powers and capabilities, and that will make for a little bit of easier storytelling going forward. Now, I've heard a lot of comments about the CGI, and let's be real, the CGI isn't perfect. But really, there was only 1 or 2 times that it bothered me. Honestly, one of the things I noticed, short hair is so much easier than long hair, making the comparison between Bruce and Jen in their Hulk forms sometimes a bit of a contrast. Actually, as I watched them struggle in some scenes with She-Hulk's hair, it actually made me think of that decision back in the Inhumans where they actually cut Medusa's hair off, reportedly because of some of the difficulties associated with the CGI for hair. Now, I'm going to give this opener an 8 out of 10. It was a fun episode, and I'm totally looking forward to next week. I think we have quite a unique show in store for us, and I really can't wait to see what the rest of the series brings us. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button to get all the She-Hulk updates, because there's going to be a bunch. But until we know more, I got to know what you guys think. How did you like the first episode of the She-Hulk? And how did you feel about their relationship with her cousin, Bruce Banner? Tell me what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you hit like, click subscribe, and if you don't ring that bell, you won't get any updates. Peace.